I'm Sarah,
And I'm Chelsea.
and this is Weathered. So, this is episode 5
Yeah,
of
we're just ticking
Weathered,
along. Yep.
and today is going to be a little different.
Cool. Maybe
This,
not so sad.
yeah, yes, for sure. Less, I would say no sadness in this one.
Great.
In this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the National Weather Service. I know we've talked a little bit before about kind of the difference between watches and warnings and how do we even get watches and warnings?
Right. You're the expert on that, so I'll be learning through this whole thing too.
I am not an expert, and I learned a lot researching for this episode. There are probably going to be listeners who also learn with us. And then hopefully we have listeners in the weather community that are actual experts and
Right.
they can tell us if I said something wrong.
Right.
But I have some fun facts for sure.
Okay.
And one reason, of course, that we wanted to start this podcast is to help everyone learn alongside us and help spread awareness about weather and to advocate for weather safety. So, we will, I think, sprinkle episodes here and there that are a little bit more educational and just kind of like learning together. Obviously, you can go take actual classes from the weather service,
Yeah.
but maybe we'll make it fun.
Cool.
So, part of spreading awareness to people and helping with weather safety is learning what the alerts mean that come out to us. What different groups do they come from? What media outlets can you get them from? And it can be really confusing trying to understand a watch or a warning and what kind of storm. I remember when we were traveling in our RV and we were in Florida and we were very close to the coast, I started getting gale warnings. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. What is a gale warning?
I'm assuming it has to do with wind.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously on the news we've heard before gale force winds or something.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
But I mean, I said wind, but like, what kind of wind
yeah,
are we talking here?
we may have to do a separate episode on that because I definitely didn't research that for this,
Yeah.
but I vaguely remember it was a couple of years ago. And I just remember that it when it's on the coast, the winds are called that. Like, so you would never get a gale warning away from the coast.
Right. Like in Nashville where I am.
Right. Even if the winds were the same speed.
Right.
So
Oh,
that was
okay.
interesting. Yeah. Anyway, we were in an RV and we were like, are we gonna blow
That
over?
sounds, yeah, but
So
you didn't.
first let's talk about, and I'm gonna read from a separate screen. On our previous episodes, I was reading on this same screen that I'm looking at you on, and I didn't like that because I
Yeah.
felt like I couldn't see you. And I
Yeah.
know I'm kind of like looking off to the side, but
That's okay.
trying new things. So, first, we'll talk about the entities that are out there making these decisions. Okay, so someone out there is saying the weather's looking bad and we need to put together an alert to let people know. And so, who is the National Weather Service, right? And what do they do? Because, of course, they're part of it. So, the National Weather Service is an agency of the federal government. So hopefully everyone knows that, but in case you
I
didn't,
don't think I
it's
really
a government entity.
realized that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a part of the federal government and it falls under, so it's part of the NOAA branch of the Department of Commerce. So, which is interesting because, like, how does commerce and weather go
Commerce.
together?
Right. They don't.
But You may have heard NOAA from your weather radio because I know you have one.
Yeah, we do. We have a couple.
Yeah, I supplied those for that house.
Yeah,
So I was like,
thanks.
Tornado Alley needs those.
Yeah.
So NOAA stands for the National Oceanic, which is the hardest word to say.
Oceanic. You know, when I got really good at saying oceanic was when I watched Lost.
Oh, see, I've
Because
never seen
that,
Lost.
okay, that's the airline, Oceanic.
So Matt has been trying to get me to watch. We've been
I
thinking
can't
about going back.
believe that you haven't seen it.
It was one of those things that I didn't get into it. And then it was like everyone was so into it that I felt like
Oh
it
man.
was like overwhelming to try to catch up. So I just didn't.
Man, when I was in youth group growing up, like Chuck C, shout out to him. He would always make references from Lost to like, you know,
Oh, wow.
sermons, and like it was good. You should
That
watch it
is
because it's
funny.
definitely, you can see the connection between like religion, God, whoever you think is God really, and
Yeah.
like how they all worship the God without realizing it. It's crazy.
Oh.
It's a lot deeper than you think it is.
Well, don't give me any spoilers. So I'm gonna,
Anyways,
but Matt has
Oceanic.
seen it and he said that we should watch it because we were talking about watching like an old series because honestly, nothing new is really
I know.
doing it for me lately. So
Well, you'll have a lot of episodes to watch.
yeah, that's true. Um, but yeah, oceanic. Do you say like oceanic?
You have a master's degree. I'm just kidding.
That does not mean I can pronounce words. Um,
Oceanic.
Not in meteorology for sure.
Right.
NOAA stands for National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So there's like a whole administration in the government that's looking at the oceans and the atmosphere and like tracking what's going on.
Good. We
And
need that.
yeah, the history of how the National Weather Service was formed is actually really interesting. So if you're interested in that, I would go check it out. I really didn't get that into those specific details because it's a lot. And so I just kind of wanted to give like a high level overview today of how it's set up and what we can expect and how like we can utilize it. But
Mhm.
it is kind of interesting how it came about if you ever feel like Googling that and
I
reading it.
will.
So the NWS, you also hear it for short. It has a main office, which is in Silver Spring, Maryland, but that's basically Washington, D.C.
DC.
Yeah. This office basically oversees the whole program across the nation, and they help ensure each regional office has the funding that they need for certain programs, as well as making sure that all their equipment is up to date, et cetera. So I
Mhm.
imagine that they have a budget that's part of our
Right.
and federal spending budget.
Hmm.
And then they take that and probably provide, certain funds to regional offices and then maybe some grants and things like that. So if you're wondering why maybe different areas have better or worse equipment, that might be why.
Right.
And there are 6 regional headquarters. And, I started to kind of go into all the states that were involved in those, but I think we can kind of get an idea. So 6 regional headquarters. There's Eastern, Southern, Central, Western, Alaska, and Pacific. And each of those headquarters have like a main office somewhere.
Right.
And so the Eastern headquarters is in Bohemia, New York, and it covers the East Coast, basically from Maine down to the Carolinas and over to Ohio. So in
Oh,
Ohio,
you're in it.
yeah, so I'm kind of like right in that tri-state area of
Hmm.
Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And so I kind of am right on the border of regions for the National Weather Service too.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the Ohio one is closer to me, like the where the radar and everything is, I guess the closest
Hmm.
one is in Ohio. So yes, that's the eastern region.
Okay.
But then the southern headquarters It covers the entire southern portion of the country from New Mexico all the way over to
Mm,
Florida and like the islands down there.
okay.
Yeah. So your
That's me.
area, that's big. And they're very
Yeah.
busy with like Texas and Florida.
Very. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And now lots of tornadoes too. I feel like the South and Midwest get the
Mhm.
most. And the main office for the southern one is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
So the main office for you is in Fort Worth, and the main office for me is in New York, Bohemia, which I don't even know where that is.
Me either.
Um, and you can imagine basically how the others are set up just based on that description. Um, so, and it's funny because my house, so we just talked about this, like how I'm kind of on the border. So my
Mhm.
house is technically in the central region.
Oh, funny.
So I've got like
Weird.
the east region and then the central region, and then like you are in the
You're
southern
like,
region, which is not far south from me either.
I know, you're right there at the cusp of everything.
Yeah. So, did you realize that the National Weather Service had regions like that?
No, I did not. But it makes sense now that we're talking about it.
Yeah. But to add to, so that seems really like organized and
Sure.
straightforward. But
But
yeah, but to add to all of that, there's the Storm Prediction Center, aka the SPC.
okay.
Now, the SPC is part of the National Weather Service, but it's also part of the National Center for Environmental Prediction. So we're getting it's
Whoa.
so funny because it's like the poor government, like they try it's like why do you have 8
What?
million different organizations? I don't know.
Right.
I'm sure they all have a very important job.
Sure. But in
Um
my mind, I'm like, can't we just like squeeze this down into like one?
and I really didn't get into the details of the National Center for Environmental Prediction, but I think of course they are outside of storms and weather. They
Right.
look at just environmental change, um, fires, and
Sure.
such. The office for SPC, the Storm Prediction Center, is in Norman, Oklahoma. I want to say that all of this was kind of referenced in the Twister franchise, just like Oklahoma.
I loved the new movie.
Oh no, we didn't even talk about that.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
last time
Oh
we
my
recorded,
gosh.
it
We
wasn't
hadn't
out
seen it
yet.
yet. Listen, if you can feel it, chase it. Or is that what it is? I don't remember.
It was
It's
so
so
good. I
good.
saw it at the drive-in. So
Which is even scarier because I don't want to like give anything away, but
I
in the
wish we
movie,
would
like
have
stuff happens outside.
I wish we would have gotten a storm that night. Like at the drive-in.
We could have a full episode of me just going on about how much I love the first movie and the second movie.
Yeah. I
The
thought
first
the
one is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
same.
And I thought the second one was I thought it was good.
I did too. I was worried. So one thing that bugs me, and I don't know if it bugs other people, but I don't love it when people try to hide their accents in
Mm,
movies. And I mean, I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but that girl, the main girl, she is from the
she's
UK or wherever, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And I
But
just sometimes I hear it and I'm like, no, I don't know. That kind of bugs me.
I don't
But
know.
that's the only thing. I loved the storyline. I loved the movie. She did great.
Yeah. She did great and he is cute. He can
Yeah,
chase a twister all day long.
I know. And I love
He's
how they
cute.
kind of like modernized it, right? With
Mhm.
like the storm chaser and
Yeah.
um
I really loved like how he like I don't want to give anything away, but like they were in the storm.
mhm.
He was like, "Let's go." And they're like inside a tornado just chilling. I'm like, "Okay. All right."
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was really good and everyone should go watch it. It was good.
I think that a lot of storm chasers, especially YouTubers,
Yeah.
get that bad rep from like about I don't know, I think they portrayed it well, how,
There's
maybe a
different types of storm
meteorologist.
chasers.
Yeah, and even like,
Right.
some of the storm guys that I like on YouTube and gals, I've seen a few gals on TikTok that I like.
Mhm.
They say that they often get sort of scrutinized by
Sure.
meteorologists that work like at the National Weather Service or even for a news channel.
I
Um,
mean, I could see how if you spent so much time and money and you're educated and you've like, spent your life to do this, you're a meteorologist,
yeah.
to see a lot of people not caring, but like being really interested in these guys on YouTube who maybe don't have the education or the knowledge that you do and being like, well,
Yeah.
I spent, what about me? I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So I loved how the movie kind of brought that in, but
Yeah.
yes, it
Anyways,
was amazing. But I bring that up because the Storm Prediction Center is in Norman, Oklahoma, and they are the ones responsible for determining the risk of severe weather, mostly thunderstorms and tornadoes, but they do also sometimes include fire and water hazards also.
mhm.
And so when the Storm Prediction Center determines risk, they put it into the color coded risk categories. So, like on the news or on the Weather Services Facebook page, when you see green, yellow, orange, does it go past that? I think I may have said that in here somewhere. I don't remember, but yes, I did. But I just basically said green, yellow, orange, etc. So those are the risk categories. And when you see those posted on like your National Weather Service page, or you see the news meteorologist showing them on the screen, those colors came straight from the SPC. Like they
Okay.
didn't. So it should
It's not
be,
like they did that
yeah,
on their own. Like they're getting that from top. I
yeah,
gotcha.
that's coming down. So that's good, I guess, because it keeps it
Yeah.
consistent.
So every
Um,
news channel has the same. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And so when they determine, and I thought this was really interesting, when they determine that severe weather is possible, they reach out to the regional National Weather Service office to start the discussion. And I found a YouTube video of one of the National Weather Service, I think it was in Georgia. I found a YouTube video where he was talking about that basically when that happens, the SPC will reach out to them and then they'll hop on a Zoom call with them and talk about the alerts because they'll talk about issuing them and how they want to do that, which counties they want to include. Because, like, he mentioned an example of where there might be a city really close to the edge of the county, and that county, like maybe the SPC is saying, well, it's really this county next to them that's the highest risk. But that regional office being more knowledgeable about like where the people are,
Hmm.
say, well, hey, let's go ahead and include this county
These
too, just because there's a lot of people that may be kind of close to there and we don't want to,
Yeah.
but it's like a fine line because you don't want people to freak out either if they don't need to.
Right.
He said that they also on those Zoom calls will determine kind of the time frame. And this goes into what I think I've mentioned before, where I felt like in Tennessee, they were issuing alerts a lot sooner than up here where I live.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? Well, it makes sense now, I guess, because maybe just the regional office down there says, hey, no, let's go ahead and do this now. We're cool with that. Whereas the one up here, maybe talking to the Storm
It's like
Prediction
we can
Center.
wait.
Hmm.
Got it.
So that helped me understand that quite a bit because I was like,
Yeah.
what are we waiting for, guys? We know there's
Yeah.
a risk. So,
Well, yeah, and not to take another, you know, tangent here, but like when I was in the tornado in Nashville, I didn't get the tornado warning alert until after I had already been in the tornado.
hmm,
Um, Now if that had been maybe like even a minute before the tornado, I could have been in a much safer environment, but I was in the room where the roof got torn off. Like,
yeah.
but none of us knew. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, now our phones are going off. I was like, oh, okay, we were just in a tornado. Got it.
Yeah. those
So
warnings, um, the warnings are definitely issued in certain ways too. So
yeah,
the SPC will they'll even see risk usually like the day before or,
yeah,
hours and hours before they
right,
know because they're watching it like literally from global angles. And they'll
right,
say, oh, there's weather coming from the Gulf or whatever, or coming down, and there's this cold front and yada, yada. And so they will reach out at that point to kind of start the conversation. So, okay. And
yeah,
so I think that's why it's so hard because a lot of people are numb to that stuff and they
yep,
see, oh, there's a slight risk, like we're in the yellow for
right,
tornadoes tomorrow, and they're just like, oh, yeah, they say this all the time and whatever. I'm still going to Hobby
right,
Lobby.
right. I mean, people do
Um,
go there.
we're getting one close to my house and I'm really excited about it.
I was just there the other day and it was Christmas.
Really? What about Halloween?
Christmas. It's beyond, it's Christmas.
Don't be skipping my spooky season now, or
Oh my God, I'm so excited
we
for
are how
spooky
many days
season.
what is hold on, we
We
are
have like a little over 2 months until we go to Salem, Massachusetts
I
for
know.
spooky
Where's
season.
our also Two Girls One Ghost, the other podcast that I really
Oh
love.
yeah.
They live
Yeah.
there too. It's like all my favorite podcasters are in Massachusetts.
Yeah. I'm so
Um,
excited. We
but
neither of us have ever been.
we only have 4 days though until
We
the
have
Burr months.
don't even get me started. It is literally a heat like
I know.
we are a weathered podcast. We should do a podcast on how freaking hot it is outside right
I don't
now.
even want to talk about it. It's 95 degrees up here. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's the same there, if not
it's
hotter.
like almost it definitely feels like 100. My poor toddler, he was like, I want to go to the playground. I said, absolutely not.
Nope.
You
Gotta
I'm
stay
sorry, buddy,
inside.
but no.
Same with my dog. He will hyperventilate. He's too
And
furry
he's like
for
a
this.
yeah.
He was trying to lay out in the backyard earlier, and I was like, no, dude,
You're
it's
like
too hot.
you're like a winter dog. Calm down.
I know. Okay, so back to the Storm Prediction Center. He also mentioned that, so we talked a little bit about this already, that they talk about when they do their Zoom call, what time they want to issue the watch.
Mhm.
So if that area's risk is closer to 9 p.m., but they know about the risk at 10 a.m., they may choose not to issue the watch until later in the day. They kind of discuss it and decide. So that kind of explains what we were saying about, Nashville might decide they want to go ahead and do it at 11 a.m. Cincinnati area may not want to do it till 8 p.m. and give you an hour
Right.
to prepare.
Right.
I prefer the sooner because then you can kind of plan your day around it, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm a planner. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm
if
not.
there's gonna be tornadoes at 5 o'clock, then maybe I'll reschedule my hair appointment or I'll,
Right.
or
Right.
just make a plan that if I am gonna be out, I'm gonna know where to go in an
Yeah,
emergency.
exactly.
So the local National Weather Service office meteorologists are constantly watching the risky weather and they'll issue warnings and watches as appropriate. And so that's just a high level overview of how the National Weather Service functions and how these alerts come to us. But now let's chat a little bit about the difference between a watch and a warning and how we should react when they happen.
Right. This is
Um,
important. This is my like the most important thing, at least to me, because you want to take care of your family. So when do you do it? And how do you do it?
mhm.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah. So the first one is a watch. So I have in quotes on here, watch out, get prepared. Like when you hear watch out.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
and so
very
a
like
watch,
elementary school.
any way that we can remember that it just like sticks in our mind.
True.
A watch is issued by the Storm Prediction Center, like we said before, in collaboration with the regional NWS offices. And it covers a much larger area. Okay. So it's letting us know that conditions are favorable for severe weather. Watches are usually issued well in advance of the severe weather actually happening, but it will be based on your regional office and the National Weather Service how soon they get issued. And so basically, they're saying, watch the weather. Okay. We're telling you, like, every day, maybe you're not weather junkies like us
Mhm.
and you're not even looking. Like me, I have the weather
Yeah.
on my Apple Watch face
Yeah.
because I'm looking at it all day. I
Right.
have several apps on my phone, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But some people who maybe don't look at the weather every day, a
Yeah.
watch is letting you know you need to watch the weather right now. You need to
Right.
pay attention.
Right.
Um,
Something could happen at any moment.
yeah. And they'll usually, I mean, they do a decent job, although it changes. You know, Mother Nature, she speeds up, she slows down. So
Mhm.
they do
Oh, yeah.
a decent job. And I've noticed here, I don't know about if you've noticed in Tennessee, but like I've noticed here that as the day goes on, the time frame gets more specific. So
Sure.
in the morning, they might say afternoon severe weather. And then as we get
Yep.
closer, they'll give you like a hour range.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that here.
So I think that's
And
probably
my girl, Danielle Breezy, keeping us updated.
Yep. And so, yeah, so pay attention, right? Like check out
Yeah,
your favorite meteorologists,
I like the
social
watch out
media
thing.
every
That's
once in a
good.
while. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, a watch when it's issued, that just means, I've also heard analogies like it's kind of like when you have all the ingredients to make a taco and you
Right.
have all of them laid out and they're there, and it could be very easy for a taco to be thrown together really quick,
Sure.
but you
You've
don't
got
quite
your
have a
mise en
taco.
place. Yeah.
hmm
The mise are
So
in place.
So then you have to be ready for a warning to be
Mhm.
issued because um, warnings mean take action. So we'll talk a little bit now about the other alerts, and then we'll talk about how to prepare and how to make sure that you're aware when they're issued. So for a warning, so remember a watch, you want to watch out, watch the weather. For a warning, you want to take action. Okay. Just like you mentioned, sometimes when you get a warning, you're already in it.
Yeah,
Hopefully you get it like a
before.
minute before. When we were also in that same storm that you mentioned,
Mhm.
we were in bed asleep, and my husband, he says it was like divine intervention. Something woke him up and
Yeah.
he just within a minute, the phones were going off. So
Yeah.
it happens because really all they can do, if you think about it, if a tornado is spotted on radar, they have to, I don't know. I should have looked this up. I don't know if it's like a button. I picture like a
Yeah.
big red button.
Right, did they hit it? Like code blue in a hospital.
Yeah,
It's like, okay,
but it takes however long, and cell service
to get to
may affect
everyone.
that. So anyway, when you get a warning, you're going to want to take action. So a warning means that severe weather is currently happening and has been detected via radar. A warning is normally a much smaller area than a watch, so is often as small as one county. However, we know that counties are big. The ones
Mhm.
that me and you both live in are large counties.
Yeah.
So usually a warning will get issued and it might say your county, but like if you're on the end of the county that it's currently hitting, you
Yeah.
wouldn't get as much warning as me if it's traveling 10 miles
Sure.
to get to me on the other side of the county. So
Yeah.
but watches are normally, multiple counties,
Right.
multiple areas. So they
Yeah.
narrow it down for the warning. That's why I really like your guys in Nashville
My
Severe
Nashville
Weather,
weather, love them.
because they will tell you like live stream, it's hitting this street, it's hitting that street.
I wanna know, like, where I wanna meet them.
If you
I
watch
wanna,
them,
like, know what they're doing, where they are, like,
have you
how they
watched their
do what they.
YouTube?
No, I've never
They
seen
go
their
live
YouTube.
on, so when a warning is issued, they go live on YouTube. And
Okay.
usually, if you're in the middle of a warning, you might click on it and just listen on your phone, but they are live streaming from their houses and they
Okay.
have like little rooms in their houses where they're um set up. And I
Like
think one of
safe
them,
rooms?
well, it's more like a studio, like, like a
Yeah.
almost like a gaming room what that would look
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
One of them lives in Franklin, I believe. I don't know if they all
Okay.
do, but I want to say that the one that I remember mostly from that night, from the Nashville
Yeah.
tornado night. I
Yeah.
watched him for a while that night. Uh,
That's when I first, even realized they were around, was that night.
yeah.
And fun fact, your husband was the first person to text me and be like, "Where are you?" Because he knew I was on the east side. Back in the day, I was a little party animal.
Hmm.
And he texted me, he was like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm okay, but I just had the craziest experience of my life." But yeah.
I think he was reaching out to you while I was reaching out to mom. Because we
Yeah.
were trying to
Yeah.
see like what happened to you because it had already hit like where you were, and then it was
Yeah.
heading toward mom. We were worried
Very
she was
quickly.
asleep or something.
She was awake.
Yeah, I called her and she was like, I'm going in the bathroom,
I know.
like to take cover.
Yeah.
So by the time a warning is issued, you may only have minutes to react, like we just said. So the thing is you definitely should not wait for a warning to be
Hmm.
ready and prepared. So, kind of like we were talking about earlier, planning your day around it. If there's a watch for severe weather, maybe try not to like be out on the road. Um, Sometimes I know you can't help it, but if you have to be somewhere, know where you would need to take cover if severe weather
Yeah.
did hit.
Yeah.
There's also, which we haven't really talked about much, the advisory. Um, so an advisory is when severe weather is occurring, but it's less serious as, say, a tornado on the ground.
Hmm.
We mostly hear these used for severe heat. So it's happening right
Like
now.
today. Ugh.
Yep. So actually, I think if I was to open my weather service, or this is the Weather Channel app, and
Mhm.
there's like a red exclamation point. Yep, heat
Heat
advisory
advisory. Yeah.
is the first one on there. So they
Would
still
air
issue
quality be a part
those.
of that?
Yep, air quality alert is also on there.
Because I feel like we have both of those this week. It's crazy down here.
Yep. And so just letting people know to be advised that the weather could be dangerous if you don't use
Hmm.
caution. So it's not necessarily meaning you need to run and take cover and like not leave your house, but it's preparing you for you need to like take some extra water with you, make sure
Right.
that you have some shade. So and they're
Yeah.
like canceling kids sports, which is good because Leon
Yeah.
had soccer on Sunday and it was so hot, those poor kids.
Yeah. I know. All week this week, like at Fox's school, they're not playing outside. And I do think they canceled like football practice and stuff. I mean, I can't imagine those kids playing football in the
Yeah,
middle of the day with the hot sun. It's just too dangerous.
I know.
Ugh.
I mean, I remember band
Oh
camp
yeah.
in August and it was really hot.
Sarah was a band gal.
Oh yeah. Okay, so how do we react? I know we've been rambling, so
Yeah.
um we probably need to try to wrap it up in a minute, but let's talk about how we
Mhm.
react. So it's very important to ensure that you have the capability to receive the alerts. That's the first thing, right? So the National Weather Service is going to put out these alerts to let us know that things are coming. And so we're very fortunate now to have so many wonderful weather prediction technologies. And we've heard in our last episodes that that hasn't always been the case. Even in the 90s, no one had smartphones. So it's definitely a lot better now. So make sure you have some type of alert app on your phone. I have 3 different ones, which is probably a little overdoing it, but I like to have some redundancy in case one isn't working or something.
Sure.
So I have the Weather Channel Storm Watch Plus, which I believe is the one that Nashville Severe Weather tells people to get. And
Hmm.
then I also have Storm Shield. So those are all the ones I have. And even the free versions that I have are good. You'll still get the
Yeah.
alerts. Um, so definitely recommend some of those. Do you have some on
Yeah.
your phone?
I have the Weather Channel, and then I have WKRN,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the
So
one
like
where
your
like it's like,
local
this is Danielle
news.
Bruzy.
Hmm.
There's a tornado warning. Go hide right now.
Yeah, your local news channels probably have apps now too, which is nice.
Yeah, this one's great, and it's specifically for weather. So if you're in Nashville, you can get weather
Yeah,
specific app, and it's great. They keep you updated on everything.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like the Weather Channel and those other ones I mentioned too because we used to travel a lot and they will follow your location. So
right.
that's nice to make sure you have your location turned on and they'll alert you based on where you are.
Yeah, that's
And this
nice
was
too.
a really nice one for those of you who camp like we did, and we would find
Hmm.
ourselves in towns that we weren't familiar with.
Yeah.
Also, of course, I highly recommend a weather radio. I use the NOAA Midland radio, not
Hmm.
sponsored, but maybe one day.
But maybe one day.
Midland, please sponsor us. It stays on my husband's nightstand, so we are sure to be awakened if a warning is issued while we are sleeping. I learned the hard way to program it specifically for exactly what I wanted because otherwise it goes by, which can be useful. I think I used this more in the camper because I wasn't exactly sure where we were or what counties were around
Hmm.
us. It uses kind of like a radius around you, and it will, even alert you if there's something in the county next to
The
you that's
next
getting
county.
close.
Yeah.
So what I did was it was waking me up a lot. And
Yeah,
so
you're like, I don't need to know about this
yeah, it was
thunderstorm.
when I was in Nashville, it would alert me for like flooding in Dixon. And I was like,
And you're
okay.
like, no, don't care.
But I learned quickly that you can program it specifically to warnings. Like, so I didn't even want it to alert me of a watch because I
Yeah,
usually am well aware of a watch before I go to
right.
sleep.
But if you're asleep, you need to be woken up.
Yep. So I programmed mine for my specific county and tornado warnings
Hmm.
only because I'm not in a
Yep.
place where I would need to worry about hurricanes or anything like that.
Right.
And also just pay attention to the weather. I added the weather on my home screens, like on my watch and my
Hmm.
phone. So that way
Yep.
I'm just aware throughout the day as to what's coming. And also follow your local National Weather Service pages on Facebook or Twitter. They're pretty active on there, and have
Hmm.
your notifications turned on because, as y'all know, the
Right.
algorithms, there may be a day where I see them all and then the
You
next week
never
I don't
see
see
them.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you said Twitter. We are no
Oh,
longer
I
a Twitter
forgot
nation.
that
We
it
are an
is
X nation.
it's X now. Can we still tweet?
That's what I saw something the other day. It's like, what do we call it now? Like,
Yeah.
I guess it's still tweeting. I don't know.
So funny. Yeah, and
Hmm.
also like on my phone, the like icon on the app is still the same. Is it supposed to be an
I don't have
X?
it.
Do I need to like update it?
Probably.
Anyways, someone let us know. All right. So what do I do when a watch is issued? Okay. So prepare your safe space. So plan your day accordingly the best you can. If there are tornado watches, you may not want to be far from home or at least know where the closest storm shelter is. For our safe space, we don't have a basement. So I have a tornado bag. It's just like a little reusable grocery bag type of bag. And it's got battery powered lanterns, blankets, batteries to charge our phones, and things like that. So that when a watch is issued, what I do is our safe space is a closet under the stairs, and I have a bunch of junk in there right now. So when a
Hmm.
watch is issued, I
You're
will
like, let me clean this
go,
out.
yep, and I'll like pull some stuff out, put the tornado bag in, and just go get the kids' bicycle helmets out of the
Hmm.
garage, bring them in, just kind of have it ready so
Hmm.
that, if we do go to bed and we're awoken and there's a tornado literally
It's
about to
ready
hit
to
the
go.
house, yeah, we're there. And this is a funny pro tip. If it's nighttime, you may want to sleep with a comfy bra on.
Right. Good point.
I do that because
I mean, I get it.
if you're woken up like my friends that were hit in Mount Juliet in 2020,
Mhm.
I mean, it was the middle of the night. The roof was ripped off their house. It was raining into their house.
Yep.
You don't really want to be caught in your pajamas, like barefoot, no bra, in the
I
middle of the
know.
street with all your neighbors
Right.
at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Totally.
That
Just,
may be
have a
TMI
bra.
for some of our male listeners, but you know.
Whatever.
And I have my shoes next to the bed, kind of
Yeah.
like ready to go.
Shoes are important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've got tender feet.
Oh,
I
I
don't like
don't.
to
I can
walk.
just run on rocks if I want to.
That's
It's the
awesome.
summer camp in me.
I can't.
I
Um,
grew up in the mountains.
so that's what to do if a watch is issued. Now, if a
Yep.
warning is issued, you want to take cover immediately. So you're not going to have time to kind of be
To
like,
get it
oh,
ready.
where's my go bag and where's my safe space? That was one thing at our house in Nashville is
There's nowhere
all
to
of a
go,
sudden
really?
I was like, where's our safe space? Because we hadn't even kind of thought about it.
Sure.
And when you're scared in that moment,
You don't think straight.
no. I remember kind of running around in circles, like
Yeah.
because we lived in a ranch
Yeah.
with no
Yeah.
basement. There's literally windows everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have like we had a little teeny hallway, but
I was
not
gonna
like
say
what you
there's
think of some of the ranches that have like the long ones.
yeah, your house was built a little different,
Yeah.
like on the inside.
Now, of course, the warnings are going to be more rare, hopefully. So when one is issued, that means a tornado or a severe thunderstorm has been indicated in your area. So get to your safe space immediately and don't wait. And severe thunderstorms need to be taken just as serious as tornado warnings. Did I say that right? Severe thunderstorm
Yeah.
warnings should be taken just as serious as tornadoes
Yeah.
because those winds can still throw a tree at your house or something. So,
That and I feel like recently I've noticed a lot of like lightning activity that
yeah,
has caused fires or things to fall over or
yeah,
whatever. I mean, that's
yeah.
terrifying too. So,
So that's my little spiel about warnings and watches and the National Weather
yeah,
Service and the Storm Prediction Center
so
and all
much
those
stuff.
things. So
That was a
hopefully
good
this is
episode.
helpful.
It is. I learned a lot, so I can only imagine everyone else did too.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and do my spiel of where you guys can find us on the internet.
Please do.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at Weathered Podcast, on TikTok at Weathered Pod. And then if you have anything to email us, stories or like firsthand encounters, you can email us at weatheredpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, please send us all your stories. We will definitely gather them and do some episodes reading them. And
Yeah.
in the meantime, we hope you keep listening and stay weather aware. Meet us back
Mm-hmm.
next time for another story of a big storm.
Spooky.
All right. Okay. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.